He remembered how beautiful the little neighbor girl looked earlier that day on the rope swing outside their farmhouse. She wore a beautiful white dress and was the cutest thing he had ever seen. He saw how happy she was with something so simple. He wanted that. He wanted that and a whole lot more. He was about 6 years old when he tried on his older sister's dress for the first time. He saw how pretty she was in it and wanted to feel just as pretty. It was big on his body, but even so, he looked at himself in the mirror and felt amazing, imagining himself with long blonde hair and even a little eyeshadow like his sister wore. It was then that his dad walked in on him. It was the first time that he could remember catching a beating that bad in his life. It was also the first time in his life that his dad had called him a faggot. It also wasn't the last for either of those. He never again tried on a dress. Ever since that day, there was always something that would throw his dad over the edge and beat him. They kept him home from school for an entire week when he told his dad that he wasn't going to play football anymore. On his 13th birthday, his dad took him into town to try and make a man out of him. They rented a motel, and his dad left him in the room by himself for a few hours before he had come back with a prostitute. His dad didn't even wait until she left before he beat him for not wanting to have sex with her. Here he was now, 15, 11 p.m., on the night before his 16th birthday. He didn't even want to think about what his dad had planned. In fact, he had already made some birthday plans of his own. By this time, his sister had been in college for 2 years, but they left her room alone for when she came to visit. He quietly went into her room, grabbed what he wanted out of her closet, and quietly snuck back into his room and locked the door behind him. It was her dress from senior prom. It was an incredibly beautiful white dress. He then went into the closet and grabbed a small box that had some makeup that he had been hiding and practicing with late at night when he knew his dad was passed out drunk. It was about 45 minutes later that he was finished and stood in front of the mirror on his door. He felt amazing, even more amazing than he remembered the first time when he was 6. He admired himself in the mirror for only a few minutes before he looked at the time, 11:55. He grabbed what he needed from his bed and climbed out of his window, doing his best not to catch the dress. Once outside, he began to make his way to the rope swing at the front of the farmhouse. He began to cry, not tears of pain or fear, but tears of relief and happiness. For the first time in his life, he felt free, happy, and beautiful. He got to the swing. He stood there and thought back on earlier that day of the little girl, how beautiful and happy she was, and how much he wanted that. Except he wasn't going to need the swing attached to the tree. He had brought his own. His watch alarm began to go off. It was set for 11:59. Everybody was going to finally see how happy and beautiful she was in her beautiful white dress on her rope swing. Happy birthday to me.